So let's start with who I am and what I'm gonna talk about. I am Danny McFly Cosplay, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about how to make muscle suits. Because for a lot of costumes, like a lot of characters have big muscles or like different shape than you actually have, especially from male to female or from monster suits or any kind of like non-human or non-average human proportions. It will always add to your costume if you have an additional muscle suit to get the proportions right. So I'm gonna tell you about what tools you need, what the progress is, how it works. I'm gonna teach you two different techniques of how to make muscle suits. One is more effort, one is less effort, but you get different results. And I will also show you all the work steps, how to do everything along the way. So let's start out with, and if you have any questions during the course, I will answer all your questions later. Either you come up to me or you can just come to me at my booth or wherever or message me on my social media and I will answer all your questions. Okay, so making a muscle suit sounds way more complicated than it is because it's a very basic job that just requires a lot of work. You don't need fancy tools. You can do everything with a very basic skill set. Basically, all you need are those four tools, a knife or razor blade, scissors, a permanent marker for marking your muscles, and I always recommend safety scissors for the patterning. You will see in a second why this is. Materials are also very simple and also very affordable because muscle suits only cost a lot of time but not a lot of money. So what you need is some cling wrap or aluminum foil, painter's tape, contact cement, spray glue, and you need your base layer. You basically need long sleeve or leggings, the stuff you're gonna put on where the muscles are gonna be attached so it fits your body. The point is it has to be tight because you don't want a loose fitting muscle suit because it's supposed to be your skin basically, so you need to have it tight but still accessible. And optionally I have the skin colored spandex or jersey, which is only if you need to like make a skin on the muscle suit, like if you're not gonna wear it under something, but like an exposed skin. You can obviously, if you want to do like a Hulk, you can use green spandex or any other color. And the most important part that all the muscles are gonna be made out of is mattress foam. And there's different kinds of mattress foam, different thicknesses. Personally, if you want to go for a bigger muscle suit, you get the softer, like the softest version of the foam. The smaller your muscle suit is, the more dense your foam can get, because if you have a lot of foam on yourself, you want to be more flexible and you will have more flexibility with the soft foam compared to the harder foam. So this is basically all the materials you need, cost-wise very inexpensive. So this is where we start with the tutorial basically. The whole thing starts with preparing everything because you can't just start in and expect to get a good result if you don't know what you want to build. Very important, if you know what you want to do, you need to have like references. For example, when I make a muscle suit, I have a medical schematic of how muscles work, anatomy studies, pictures of bodybuilders also work really well. And also, if you're doing this the first time, it also helps to look at other people's muscle suits to see how they made it and what techniques they used. The important part is you need to know where your separate muscles are because you can put muscles anywhere, but it doesn't mean it will look right. That's the biggest problem. Lots of people like just bulk up and add everything in the same thickness everywhere, but then you get just like a bulky suit without any definition that doesn't look like actual muscles. So here's some references that I use. This is my favorite chart that I use for muscles because it shows you every separate muscle, how it connects to the other muscles, and it's all different colored, so you know this is what the muscle is shaped like, so you can shape it in the same way. Also, a picture of a bodybuilder always works because you can see where their muscles are, how their veins are like, much better for texturing as well. So let's begin with the whole process. Usually, I start with a separate piece. I start with a separate muscle group. For example, for beginners, it's always good to start somewhere that's not as visible. So maybe don't start with your chest or your arm muscles. Maybe start with legs, lower legs, where people are not going to look at. And this is a very simple process. You just make a very basic pattern. What you do is you wrap your arm in cling film or in aluminum foil. There's a small difference here that's preference based. If you, the aluminum foil is much easier to cut off, but the cling film wraps around your skin much easier because it's more flexible. Personally, I prefer the cling film because it conforms to your body shapes much better, but it really comes down to personal preference. And once you have wrapped your whole body part, for example, your leg, your arm, your chest, whatever, in cling film, you cover the whole thing in painter's tape, and this is what it looks like. So basically, covering the arm in the foil, and then covering the whole thing in painter's tape. And there's a reason for that, because we're going to use the tape, which has a surface that you can write on, to pattern out your muscles. So what you do is you use your permanent marker, you go after your own muscles, you just check where your muscles begin, how your muscles connect, and draw out your own muscles. It really helps if you have a second person to help you with this, because especially for back muscles or anything that is on your back or on your butt, you will have a problem drawing it out precisely. Very important, which was a problem I did on my first muscle suit. I made the patterns, and I had like 60 different muscle patterns, and then I didn't know where any of the muscles go. So always write the name of your muscle where it's supposed to go. So you can see the shoulder is separated into 3 different pieces, and it's labeled with S1, S... Do I have like a pointer here? Hey, there. So you can see it's labeled with S2, S1, S3. So I know this is the shoulder muscle 1, shoulder muscle 2, shoulder muscle 3. Or here it says biceps. And as you can see, I follow the contours of my own muscles. So this is where the biceps goes, then the triceps goes up here in the back. And something I did wrong on the first pattern when I made it back then, I made the forearm muscles all the way to the front of the arm. And the problem with this is, as soon as you add something to your wrist, even if it's just like a centimeter or less, down here, if you add any muscles, you will always have a bulky end of the arm, and it won't look natural going into your hand. So what I do now is I end my muscles around here and don't add any material here, because I round the muscles out towards the wrist, so there's no material on the wrist, so it doesn't look like you have like any like cancerous tumors on your wrists. Yeah, and so basically all the patterns are marked, and now next step is cut it off. And here's where the safety scissors come into play, because this is going to be tight on your skin, and you can use like regular scissors, but you will always scratch yourself. But if you use like safety scissors, medicinal scissors, you can cut it off safely without hurting yourself. Once you did that, you cut out the single muscles and you draw them onto your clothing, and then you pattern it onto the foam. As I said before, let a helper help you. Find somebody who has like 1 or 2 hours of time to draw down all your muscles, and you will have a much easier time. It would take you at least 1/3 of the time off. Yeah. So as you can see here, safety scissors. It's much easier to cut everything off, and then you get like basically an unwrapped version of your arm. And you cut out the single muscles. What you can do is you can tape it back together, because you're going to cut through the separate muscles somewhere. So tape the whole thing back together and cut it out afterwards. And as you can see, I have the separate muscles and transferred it to the muscle suit, so you have a full suit. So this is very important to do this, because if you don't draw out your muscles, you will not know where to glue them, because you're not going to glue them on your body. You may glue them on a dummy, or you may glue it loosely. But if you have the patterns drawn out, you know where the outlines of the muscles are supposed to be. And this is where we go into the 2 options. So this far, everything is the same for both options. Um, and then we have the two different methods for a big suit. Like if you want to be the Hulk, you're going to have to carve the muscles because the foam only bends to a certain extent, and at some point you're not going to be able to bend the foam into the shape you want. And for the smaller suits, you can get away with just rounding the edges off, and you will see what I mean once I get there. So as we go to the first option, it's pretty simple. Same thing, you have all your patterns, you transfer them to your mattress foam, you cut out the shape, and then you start rounding out the muscle with a crafting knife or with scissors. Very important, if you have a knife, you need either sharpen your blade all the time or you have like replacement blades because the foam will dull your blades really quickly. Once you have your basic muscle shape out, you basically have a block of foam in the shape of a muscle, but it's not rounded. So you go to the profile of the muscle and also draw out the shape. Very important, use work clothes for this, because while it's not something that is sticky or leaves a residue, all the little foam bits are going to be statically electric and stick to your clothing. And it will never come off. I washed like my pants afterwards like 4 times and it still has static electricity foam bits on it. Yeah. So as you can see, drawing out the pattern, cutting out the pattern, and then you do the profile on the side of the pattern and then you carve it into the basic shape. So now we have the basic shape of the muscle, and this is where it gets work intensive, and this is why this method takes much more time than the other one, the second one, but it also gives you a nice result. You use your scissors to basically cut out the foam. Like you can imagine this like if you have a hedge, like a bush, and you want to cut it into a certain shape, you need to cut it slowly, cut slow bits away until you have like the shape you want. What is optional, you can try out, you can pin your muscles on once you carve them out so you can take them back off and get them into the right shape again. So as you can see, just like cutting small pieces off all the time until you get like the rounded muscle. And here you can see this is all pinned on, just the arms. So you can see what the suit would look like when you glue everything down. For the gluing, this is the same for both again, but I'm gonna go over it twice because it's a little bit different. Always use contact cement, contact glue. I don't know what it's called in Hungary, but very important. The only glue that you can glue like mattress foam is contact cement. How it works is you put the glue on both surfaces, like on the muscle and on the shirt, and you let it dry. Once it's dry to the touch, you can connect the two pieces. And the thing about contact cement is the harder you press it together, the better it holds. So give it a good press, let it dry, and then you're done. That's basically all that is to it. Important is use a well-ventilated area or do it outside because the fumes of the contact cement will make you lightheaded, are not safe for indoor consumption basically, and if you have, wear like a safety mask. I don't know if you have this brand here, but I started out with those small like tubes of contact cement, but you will use at least a can of it. So if you have the can available, get this one for a whole muscle suit because you're going to use at least this much of the glue. The problem with this method is it takes a while, and also, as you saw before, it has a rough surface in the end. You will never get a perfectly round shape. Therefore, there's another step involved where we cover it with thin foam. This is basically the same kind of foam, just in a very thin sheet. You can buy them in 5mm sheets, and you basically glue it over the top like a skin. The important part here is to work from the joints outwards, like from the elbows and everywhere, because you're gonna stretch and bend the foam very much, and you don't want to stretch it too much on your joints, so you still have the range of motion, so you can bend it once it's glued. So as you can see, this is like the thin foam, and you can see you just glue it on top of the muscles, so you can see compared to here, this has a very rough texture still. And then this one is already covered in the foam, in the thin foam, and you can see are just glued down inside the creases of the foam, and you get the definition of the muscles like this. And here you can see, with a piece of armor on top, you get a much nicer silhouette, especially for stuff like the shoulders. I mean, here the shoulder is covered, but overall, this will give you a much nicer silhouette for your costume. And now for the second option, which is about 20 times faster than the other one, which is only works for thinner muscle suits, like for more lean suits, like athletic, or any, like for female to male transformation, something like that. The first one was, the first foam thickness I used was 10 centimeter foam for the whole suit. For this, I go at a max of 5 centimeter foam. But you will see in a second, it is much less work because you don't need to carve the whole muscle. You just need to have the muscle cut out and round out the edges. And I will show you why. So here's basically the whole magic behind this. You have the square piece here, like this is the muscle that you cut out already, and then you round off the edges like this. And once you have this done, you glue the back side of the muscle onto your suit. And this way, if you glue like these edges onto your suit, the muscle will bend and will therefore have a nice surface already. So this suit, compared to the other one, I'm gonna give you like something in relation. The other suit, the first one I showed you, took me about a month of constant work. I can make one of these suits in a day. So it's 24 hours compared to 30 days of work between those two techniques. But the foam only bends to a certain extent, as you can see. This doesn't like bend outwards like a muscle, it just bends on the edges and then flattens out. That's why it doesn't work for bigger muscle groups. Very important small tip here. Never put too much material on your abs. So this is 5 centimeter foam, this is 5 millimeter. Because even if you're very skinny, you want to have like the V shape, like athletes have, you want to be in shape. And if you add material here, especially here on the sides, you will always get wider. So the more material you add here, the more you have to add on your back and upper body muscles, because otherwise you're just gonna go straight down, and you want to have this V shape here, like this shape that will give you the more athletic look. That's why I only use very little for the abs, because you're not gonna see it anyway. Under a spandex suit, this will completely disappear. You might see some of the outlines, but overall, unless you glue down your suit, you will never see those muscles. All right. As you can see, advantage is it's much faster, it has much less waste, it's more flexible because you only need to glue down the edges and not the full surface of the suit, and it's cleaner, therefore you don't necessarily need to skin it, especially if you wear it under a suit. You will not have the texture of the muscles that you carved show through because there is no texture on it. And that's it, that's the two options, but now we have a basic muscle suit that you can wear under a costume. But what if you want to wear like something like Hercules or any like more or less like naked characters, for example like Attack on Titan, stuff like that? You need to skin the whole thing. So there's a couple of options, and those are the two I use. Either skin colored spandex or latex. The thing is, this is much better for you personally, like for your health, but this looks better. The spandex basically is, you do the same thing as before. You glue down the spandex onto the suit. For this, you don't use contact cement, because the reason for this is, if you use contact cement on fabric, especially on spandex, it will go through the fabric. So you will see it, once you press it down, it will come through the fabric and it will leave stains. If you use spray glue, you can do a very thin coat and it will not soak through the fabric, therefore giving you a much nicer result. And it's the same as the thin foam. I don't make like a shirt or anything, I just use a big sheet of fabric, start from the joints out, glue all the way around, and once I'm finished, I just make a seam on the, for example, on the inside of the arm or on the back of the suit, because you will never get the proportions right if you try to sew it ahead of time. It's much easier this way. And as I said, I'm placing the seams on more or less invisible spots. For example, I use the inside of the arm, or I usually make a zipper at the back or the inside of the leg where you can't see it. The alternative to gluing it down is to sew in the muscles, which is better if you want to use your suit for a long time. Because the thing with this is, with the spray glue, if you coat it with spray glue and just glue the spandex down, you cannot wash it. You cannot put it in the washing machine and wash it. You have to like use Febreze and like some disinfectant spray, but this is a very short lifetime. Like suits with this kind of technique, you can get like 5 to 10 uses out of it, but then it's so disgusting you don't want to wear it anymore. If you sew in the, so you can sew in the muscle, so basically you do the same technique, you put it on your skin, and then you sew around every single muscle. That way, it's connected permanently with your base suit. And it's much more durable. Like I have a suit like this, I can just throw in the washing machine. It's fine afterwards. The problem is, obviously, real skin doesn't have seams. So this is less organic. Because of the seams, it will not look as natural. But if you don't need the supernatural look, supernatural right there. If it is, and if you want to use it for a longer time, this is the better option. So as you can see, just work the spandex, skin color spandex over the top, just press it in and glue it down. And now for the latex, this is where it comes with a disclaimer. Don't do this if you have weak circulation, because you're basically gonna coat your whole body in foam and then give the heat no way to escape, because the latex completely closes it up. So basically you're inside a foam suit that no heat can escape from. So if you do this and you have a suit that you don't need like to be completely exposed, just the arms, for this it is perfect. Like just cover the arms with latex. If you have like a whole suit, you will die. Like this is how you die. I'm not exaggerating here, because the heat cannot escape anywhere. You're gonna be so sweaty, you're gonna get dehydrated, and you're just gonna fall over. So the way you do this is an additional step. So you need to do all the steps before. So you need to cover it with the fabric, because if you brush on the latex or like spray on the latex onto the foam, it will soak up all of the latex, and it will not make a good skin. So you need to have like a closed surface with the spandex put on top, and then you can brush or spray on the latex on the skin that you put on before. Very careful here. Same with the spandex skin that you have. It will still soak up the latex, but not as much as the foam would. And as I said, very important, don't cover the whole suit, because you're gonna overheat and they will have to cut you out of the suit, and you will have wasted a lot of time on your suit that the rescue personnel will cut off you, guaranteed 100%. And that's basically how you make a muscle suit. So we have one last step where we go into the detailing. And this is just, you're gonna have a one-colored suit. Like you're gonna have a suit in one color. If you do the latex for a version, add some skin coloring to the latex, because usually latex is just white and you will have to color it afterwards. The problem with latex is you can only use special paints for latex, which are latex paints, obviously. And you will, if you put the skin color into your latex ahead of time, you will save a lot of time painting the whole suit. This way, you just have to detail it. You just have to add highlights, shadows, tattoos, scars, whatever. And this is pretty much the same as you would do on your regular costumes. You can do some makeup, you can do some airbrushing. For example, put some darker spots in the low points of the muscles, put some lighter spots on the high points of the muscles, do some hand painting. You can use tattoo pens for the tattoos and stuff like this. So as you can see, I just use regular makeup powder for a non-permanent shading on the inside of the muscles. It's probably not as visible here on the screen because it's not the best lighting in here. But here's the problem that I told you before. If you add muscles all the way down, you will have like bunch of material down there and it will not look natural. But if you wear gloves, it doesn't matter. But as you can see, this is a muscle suit for just the arms, so I don't have a chest or leg muscles for this because I only needed the arms when I made the Darius cosplay because everything else was covered in armor. So do yourself a favor, don't overdo it. If you don't need a full muscle suit, don't do it because you don't need it. And here you can see stuff where I use my different muscle suits. For example, for Darius here, it's just the muscles on the arm. For this suit here, I also needed leg muscles because I tried first without the leg muscles, and then this was just straight down, like skinny legs compared to the upper body. So I just made a leg muscle suit, and all my suits are like combinable. So I have an arm suit, I have a chest suit, I have a leg suit, and I can put them all together to make a full body suit. It's much easier and much more usable compared to having one full suit that you can use for one costume, but then you need a different type of proportions for another suit. So it's much easier to have like different parts of the costume that you can wear separately. And as I said, the additional info, even with just the foam suit, you're gonna get very hot. So if you know you have a weak circulation, if you know you're prone to overheating, this is not the thing for you. Just take care of your body. If you feel like you're feeling overheated, you're feeling dizzy, you're feeling tired, get out of the suit and drink a lot of water. Another good tip, apart from don't die, is for an upper body, like if you make an upper body, a torso suit, put a zipper along the spine because you're gonna have a much easier time putting it on, taking it off. For the smaller suits, it works if you can pull it over your head, but the bigger suits are less mobile and you will not be able to get in, and more specifically, you won't be able to get out. Because when it's dry and not sweaty, you will be able to get in, but once it starts getting sweaty, it will stick to you and you will not be able to take it off. I guarantee you that if you don't have a zipper on there. So that's it. That's the basics of making a muscle suit. Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody want to know anything? Everybody's looking down, so don't talk to me, don't look at me. Okay. Well, oh yeah, sure.
I just want to ask, what kind of foam should we use?
Yes, it's mattress foam, so you can go to your local hardware store. It's called mattress foam or upholstery foam in English. I think every hardware store has them in different densities and different thicknesses. So as I said earlier, for the bigger suit, you need the less dense material, because you need to be mobile, and the less dense material is more flexible. But for the smaller suits, you can go with a bit of a denser material so it doesn't compress the muscles as much. But literally any hardware store should have like a huge selection of it. I think it's, in Austria, it's, I think, 20 euros per square meter, something like that. And you need about two, depending on the body type, I need about 2 or 3 square meters for one suit. So it's pretty cheap, like about 100 euros with all the materials for a full suit. Anybody else have any questions? No? Well, I guess then thank you for your attention. If you have any other questions, or if you don't want to talk in front of the people and ask me something, you can just contact me on my social media, Danny McFly Cosplay, on anywhere. And that's it. Thank you for your questions. So you can see, you can also make different kinds of things.